After criticism from Kyle Larson, Chili Bowl has decided to raise their purse for 2024. After Kyle Larson skipped the Chili Bowl because of their embarrassingly low purse, which was only $10,000 up until this year, Chili Bowl officials announced last week that they will be doubling the winner's purse from $10,000 to $20,000, which is still laughably low. But let me note that the winner does have the possibility of walking out of the Tulsa Expo Center with $28,250 if they lead every lap of the feature on Saturday night, which pays $150 per lap led. So they could leave with $28,250, which is still better than it was, but it's not great. And there's been a lot of talk around the Chili Bowl and how much money that event actually brings in and how much it costs to put on that event. The Hans, Emmett Hahn in particular, co-founder and co-organizer, promoter, whatever title you'd like to give him, was critical of Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell and others for saying that the purse was too low, saying that they don't understand the financials that go into putting this event on. The Hans have stated, and through a spokesperson as well, that the event cost around $1 million to put on, and this was in 2022. So we'll assume inflation has maybe bumped that up to, $1.2, $1.5 million even to put on this event. That includes renting out the Tulsa Expo Center for the entire month of January because the Tulsa Shootout and the Chili Bowl run consecutively. That also accounts for the insurance, the security, paying the personnel, and all the other little things that go into running an event. So you're looking at $1 million, maybe $1.5 million to put on both of these events back to back in January. The question that a lot of people have is, well, could the purse increase? And how much money is the Chili Bowl taking in? While we don't have access to their books and to all of their numbers, which obviously they're a private organization, they're more than welcome to not publicize any of that, and why would you? But what we do know is how much ticket prices cost, how much the payouts are, and how much it costs to park one of your rigs inside of the Expo Center in the preferred parking, and a few other things. So let's break down some of the numbers that we do have access to see just how much money potentially Chili Bowl is bringing in and if there is a possibility that the purse should be increased. After all, this is a marquee event. It's a crown jewel event on the dirt schedule, and it doesn't have a purse that reflects that. So let's take a look at the numbers real quick. So one thing that we do know are ticket prices. And for a full week's worth of tickets to sit in the same seat, have a reserved seat in the Tulsa Expo Center from Monday through Saturday night, it costs $365. You divide that over 6 days, that comes out to basically being $60, $61. We'll just round down to $60 per night for that ticket. Now, Chili Bowl officials say that the Expo Center and the racetrack seats 15,000 people. So we're just going to assume that on Saturday night, 15,000 people are in the facility watching the race and they've all paid $60. That right there is $900,000 in itself, just in ticket sales from Saturday alone. So $900,000, that takes up a pretty good chunk of that $1 million to $1.5 million that the Hans say that it costs to put on this event. So what about the other days? There's 5 more days of racing before we even get to Saturday. All right, let's talk about the other 5 nights of racing real quick. Still $60 a ticket, and let's assume that 7,000 fans show up on average across those 5 nights. Obviously, 15,000 aren't showing up. Less fans are going to show up on Monday. More fans are going to show up on Thursday and Friday. We're going to take this average of 7,000 fans right there. $60 a ticket, 7,000 fans. That's $420,000 a night. Add that up over 5 nights. That's an additional $2.1 million in ticket sales. Add that in with the Saturday night feature, which we just talked about, which was $900,000. We're looking at $3 million right now in ticket sales alone across the 5 days of Chili Bowl. So right now we're sitting at around $3 million in ticket sales. It costs $1 million, $1.5 million to put on the event, so we're still looking very good. Let's look at other revenue streams though. Pit passes are a big selling point for dirt tracks, and Chili Bowl is no different. On Saturday night at Chili Bowl, it's $75 for a wristband, and we'll just assume that 1,000 of those 15,000 fans buy a pit pass. Could be more, could be less. We're just going to go with 1,000. That's an additional $75,000 right there. But what about the previous 5 nights of racing? Well, it's $60 for a wristband Monday through Friday, and we'll just conservatively say 750 fans buy those wristbands. You're looking at $45,000 for each night, a total of $225,000, basically $300,000 in pit pass wristband sales for the entire week. So now we're sitting at $3.3 million just in ticket sales and pit passes. All right, now let's talk about the cost of teams real quick. To enter a car into Chili Bowl, it's $150 per car. In years past, they've had over 300 cars, but for the sake of making things easier, we're just going to settle on the fact that they have 300 cars show up. $150 times 300, that's $45,000 in entry fees alone right there. Then you have teams that want to park within the expo center. I saw someone say that there's around 90 preferred parking spaces at $1,500 a pop. Right there, there's $135,000 just in parking spaces alone. So conservatively, again, we're going to round up about $200,000 right there in just fees that come associated with parking your hauler and entering your car. So now we're up to $3.5 million just in revenue that has been brought in across ticket sales, pit passes, car entry fees, and preferred parking for the haulers. That doesn't include the pit passes that crew members need to have because, of course, crew members have to pay to be there as well, which I didn't get a good number unless it's the same price as what it is for the fans to come in. And if it is, then we're just going to tack on an additional $100,000 for the week, right? So we're going to set it at $3.6 million. The other revenue streams that the organizers have as well is sponsorship. And Lucas Oil just announced that they weren't renewing their sponsorship deal with Chili Bowl going forward, so they're looking for a new title sponsor. But in years past, they've had Lucas Oil, General Tire, NOS Energy, and the list goes on. And there's an abundance of sponsorship around the Expo Center, around the racetrack. Everywhere you look, there's some sort of sponsorship right there. And then you throw in the media rights deal that they have with Flow Racing, which likely isn't that much money in the grand scheme of things. So conservatively, again, we're just going to go with $100,000 in sponsorship money as well as TV money that comes in. So now we're sitting somewhere around $3.6, $3.7 million in total money that has been brought in from the event. So now let's look at what the cost is. So the Hans say it costs $1 million to $1.5 million to put on this event. So you have $3.6, $3.7 million, take $1 million, $1.5 million out of that. We're sitting around 2.1-ish to $2.3 million, somewhere in that range right there. That is still left over. Now you have to pay out all the drivers because each night, each preliminary night has a payout that's associated with it. And for 2024, the payout for those preliminary nights has gone up. Now the winner receives $3,000. So across 5 nights, you're looking at $15,000 just right to the winner. It also pays $300 just to start the feature in one of those preliminary nights. So for the grand total, we're going to say that it's around $12,000 because we don't have an actual payout document that shows you what the breakdown is. So just again, this is a guesstimate. Around $12,000 a night is being paid out to those drivers across 5 nights. You're looking at $60,000 right there. That brings us to Saturday night. The winner's purse is $20,000. Like we said, that the winner can walk out of there with $28,250 if they lead every lap. And remember, those laps are all sponsored, and that's money that's being brought in by the Hans for selling sponsorship from each lap. So right there, that's not necessarily coming out of their pocket. They're selling that sponsorship to pay into the purse alone. So $28,250, that's the most that the winner can walk out with. To start, it pays $2,000 just to start into that feature. So conservatively, again, without having the whole payout here, we're just going to take a safe guess, probably over guessing here, $100,000 just in Saturday payout alone for that feature event. Throw in the alphabet soup on Saturday because teams that don't transfer out of those races do get a payout as well. So we're just going to lump that up and say that it's $30,000 in general. So we're looking at around $200,000 in total for the total amount of payout that goes to the drivers for the week. That includes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and the feature event on Saturday. With the event estimated to bring in around, like I said, $3.6, $3.7 million across ticket sales, pit passes, entrant fees, parking fees, team fees, sponsorship, TV, everything like that. We're looking around $3.6, $3.7 million. You take out that $1 million, $1.5 million that the Hans say it costs to put on the event, plus the $200,000 payout, and the Hans are still sitting around $1.7 to $2 million in general in terms of money that is still unaccounted for. And this isn't to fault the Hans for saying that they deserve to take a payday, because you absolutely do. You put on this a big event, you plan it all year, it's a lot of stress, it's a lot of work, completely understand that. But when it comes to the payout, for them to sit back and say, you know, we can't afford to pay out the winner any more money, it is a little bit laughable when you look at how much money they're bringing in from ticket sales. And granted, they have a staff that they have to pay for year round, and who knows how many people that is, who knows what their actual salary is. And you have to negotiate with the city to put on the expo. You probably have lawyer fees, you have security, you have insurance, all those things, which is all supposed to be built into that number that they float around of the $1.5-ish million that it takes to put on this event. Combine that with the Tulsa Shootout as well, which is happening at the same time, well, you know, back to back with the Chili Bowl. You're bringing in more money there because, again, it's $100 to enter a car into the Tulsa Shootout. There's 4 different classes, so you have some drivers entering 4 different cars, so $400 right there. they're making some money here, is what we're trying to get at. And granted, again, full disclaimer, I don't have access to all their financials. Nobody does outside of them, which again, totally fine. But what we do have is access to some of the information that goes into what those financials are. Ticket prices, pit passes, team fees, things like that. So you can kind of make an educated guess here as well. I went super conservative on the sponsorship as well because again, for a full week's worth of racing, all the amount of social exposure and everything, you're getting a pretty good spend on your dollar right there in terms of ROI, at least in terms of impressions and everything like that. And I hope they understand that. So what we're looking at here is not that they don't have the ability to pay the winner more, it's that potentially they don't want to, which again is their prerogative, right? I see a lot of people saying that doesn't matter what the payout is, they just want to go win a golden driller, which is totally fine. But at the same time, when you're taking a team down there and you're leaving losing money, it doesn't make sense, right? At the end of the day, this is still a business, and winning a big time event is certainly something that you can put onto your resume. Is it life-changing? Maybe it was in years past, but I don't think it is like it used to be. And now you have drivers like Larson and Bell and others saying like, it doesn't pay that much. It doesn't make sense for me to take my team down there for an entire week's worth of stay in Tulsa in January. No offense to Tulsa, it's just not the place you want to be in January. And you're looking at running a negative just so you can go out there and maybe win $20,000 or $10,000 in years past, which likely isn't going to cover your budget. $10,000 certainly isn't covering the budget of the race-winning team, having spent a week, 8 days in Tulsa with your hotel bills, your food bills, gas, tires, and everything that goes into that. I mean, I'm not out here saying that drivers should get rich and teams should get rich off of winning this event. It would be nice if they did because it seems like the money is there, or you can find a sponsor that could make this happen. But paying a purse, rather, that, is befitting of a crown jewel event doesn't seem like it should be that difficult. So again, this isn't to be critical of the Hans, of the event, anything like that. It just feels like the purse could be a little bit higher, and $20,000 still just doesn't seem like enough, especially when you can just go run the BC 39, which doesn't have the same prestige as the Chili Bowl, and win $20,000 there as well with a much smaller car count and a much better chance of winning. So, like and subscribe to the channel. Tell me in the comments why I'm wrong. Tell me that it costs $1 million a day to put on this event. Follow me on TikTok @BreakHard, Instagram and Twitter @BreakHardBlog.